everyone, welcome back to another video on the Chinnery channel.
Today we're going to do a Q&A, so we've been asked some questions by friends, family and via Instagram. So Lawrence and I will go over some of those answers today. If any of your questions aren't answered, do feel free to leave a comment below, and if the video is helpful, make sure you like and subscribe please.
So just a little bit of background, Yinka and I moved here 6 months ago. Yinka got a job at an international school here. I am currently working as an English teacher in kindergarten. We've really enjoyed our time here, so yeah, this video is just going to be a brief overview of our time.
So question one, what is your favourite part about Hong Kong?
I think my favourite part about Hong Kong is the variety of things to do. Before we moved here, I did not anticipate the hiking that was available, beaches. I expected busy city life with lots going on, lots of restaurants, bars and that sort of thing. And that is here and I do enjoy that. But yeah, did not anticipate the nature side of things. So that's definitely been my favourite thing since moving here.
And I would say the reason we moved to Asia generally, so before we chose Hong Kong, was we wanted to be able to travel more. So it's been really good to just be able to go to Vietnam, Macau and Korea, and we've got more trips planned, and also the food is amazing.
The food is amazing, there's no doubt about that. So what is your least favourite part about living in Hong Kong?
Probably the only downside, which isn't really about Hong Kong itself, it's more about where in the world we are. It's far from family and friends, which the distance isn't too much of an issue. It's more the time difference. So trying to organise Skype calls with people, sending a message and then getting a message back 12 hours later. It's challenging, but we also knew it was going to happen and we are making it work. So I'd probably say that's the toughest part about living in Hong Kong.
I think the only kind of downside or negative thing I have to say about Hong Kong so far is just some of the air quality in certain areas. Where we live, it's fine. We live near the water. Where I work and some other places just in the city, it's not the most desirable air ever, but that's such a small thing compared to how great it is here. So the next question, number 3, how expensive is it to live in Hong Kong?
So I think we got this question a lot when we first moved out here, and because that was the time we were going through getting an apartment, the answer was really expensive because the apartments are really expensive. So just as comparison, it probably costs 3 times what it costs living single in the UK or Sweden, and double what it costs living as a married couple in Sweden, just for our apartment, whereas the apartment itself is maybe a third of the size of our apartment in Sweden. I mean, you do the food shopping, so how is it food shopping wise?
It's definitely on a whole a little bit more expensive than England and Sweden, especially if you do want to try and cook more Western dishes. It's going to be even more expensive. Yeah. But I've adjusted and I've tried to cook as much kind of local food and work out what's cheap at the supermarkets. Still haven't tried the food markets, like the wet markets. We have some local friends that tell us that that's where to go if you want to like get cheap food, but we haven't braved that yet. I
think for me, the biggest expense I've noticed is probably clothes shopping. I'm not a shopper, I do not buy many clothes. But in Sweden, I loved how many second-hand clothes shops there were, whereas here, it's very challenging to find a second-hand shop. Eating out, I'd say it depends on where you go. There are some really affordable places. There are obviously some higher cost places, same as any city. So I think eating out, you can make it work. It's quite similar, depending on your budget.
I just think in general, you're gonna be unhappy about how much money you're spending if you try to live a more Western life here. Like, it's very easy to do so. There's not like we miss anything or we strive for any certain type of restaurant or
there's an
food
M&S.
to buy. It's M&S, it's McDonald's, it's KFC, there's everything you'd expect. Question number 4, is there a language barrier to living here? And also, are you trying to learn Cantonese?
So for those that don't know, Hong Kong speaks Cantonese, not Mandarin. There is maybe a tiny barrier. Of course, there are some people that prefer to speak Cantonese, but on the whole, the people we interact with day to day speak English, speak good English. I think in Sweden, a lot of the signs were in Swedish, so we had to learn how to read Swedish quite quickly, whereas here signs are in English. Most menus of restaurants we go to are in English. Information is normally provided in Cantonese and English. So the barrier isn't really there. It's probably more of when you're interacting with, for example, our doorman or a taxi driver. Then Cantonese would be beneficial We do have some great friends that speak Cantonese, so we tend to just stick with them in those situations. So I think potentially we are learning a bit of Cantonese here and there. We have some good friends, hi Keely, who give us some tips. My kids at school as well are really great at, if I ask them, how do you say this in Cantonese? They'll just teach me, which is great. I think if we're going to be here longer, it would be silly to not learn Cantonese. I think that would be very kind of ignorant to think English will get us through and that's fine. Okay, so this has been a question I received from a couple of people that are thinking of moving out here. So what apps would you recommend downloading if you lived out here, or what have been really useful for you out here?
I mean, I think Google Maps has been good. However, I sometimes use Citymapper as well. I'll double check routes on Citymapper because like one app can be wrong and the other app can be right in terms of what's the best way to do it. So I'll often use Citymapper to get around alongside Google Maps. The MTR app is very, very important if you are going to be commuting on the MTR, as you can set up like notifications for if there are ever disruptions or delays. So those have been the most useful ones. And also for food, Open Rice has been really useful for finding local restaurants. A lot of it's in Chinese, there's a lot of reviews in Chinese, but lots of people use it and lots of people rate restaurants. Yeah, we've found a lot of great places through there, haven't we?
Definitely. Klook is really handy for kind of to find discounts of entry into places, events. I probably still use Uber quite a lot just because, like I said, trying to speak to taxi drivers when you don't have a Cantonese speaker near you can be challenging. So if we think of any more, we'll write them below.
So next question, number 6, how long will you stay?
I have a 2-year contract. So when we moved out here, we knew we were here for at least 2 years. We actually love it here more than we thought we would. I can't really pinpoint exactly why or what we thought would be different. I think both of us can say we can see ourselves being here for a while, despite all the drama that has gone on in our first 6 months here with the protests and the virus, which we'll get to later. We actually really enjoy it and it's not as hard a transition as we thought it would be. I wouldn't be surprised if it's longer than 2 years.
Yeah, we're open.
Very open.
Yeah.
Sorry, family. So this one we got from friends, family, over Instagram, in the comment section, and it was about the protests and how they affected our time here.
When we first moved here, they were kind of ongoing. We kind of came in with a very open mind. We weren't affected when we first came. Like the airport was shut like a few days before we came, so we were a little bit worried. But from when we first got here, there were no issues, and for quite a long time we weren't really affected in any way. We would just kind of see it on the news, or every now and then you might see a collection of vans. So yeah, we really weren't affected very much until 1 or 2 weeks when it was very bad. And I was affected quite badly because we live in the new territories and there's one train line to get into Kowloon, which is where I work, and that train line was heavily targeted and the protesters would often damage the train line. They would throw things on the tracks. There were just days when I couldn't get to work. Then the school was shut down. So that week is kind of the main week that we were affected. And that also did coincide, unfortunately, with Clock and Flap, which was the music festival that we were going to go to, because that week when it was quite bad was literally like a week before that was due to happen. So the organisers cancelled the festival. So that's how we've been affected most, I would say.
Yeah, I'd say we are very fortunate to live in the new territories. That's not the reason why we moved out here, but I know people that live more in Central and in Kowloon that were affected probably a lot more. Could smell tear gas from their apartments, couldn't leave the house for several days. We were very fortunate that even when transport links were down, we still had an amazing place to be. We could still leave our apartment and walk by the sea, go for a hike. I think it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, and I will just say we've never, ever, ever felt unsafe. If that's ever a concern of anyone about sort of looking in on Hong Kong, we've never felt unsafe living here. So, next question, number 8. How is the virus affecting you?
This is still in its very early stages. So at the moment, it's the end of January, but this might go out later on. Disclaimer, we live in the past. At the moment, we are on school break from Chinese New Year. There were loads of cases in mainland China and just a few in Hong Kong when we started our break. But because of Chinese New Year, a lot of people have travelled and are coming back. So as a precaution, schools are closed for an extended period of time with the kids not coming in. So that will impact us over the next few weeks. We're not meant to be back at school right now, so we don't know how it's impacting us. We wash our hands constantly. We take hand sanitizer out with us. We're wearing masks whenever we leave the apartment. Again, I still feel quite safe. You can feel some tension. You can feel some fear in the air. And I think that's probably what affects me the most, is the conversations that I find myself in. People feeling fearful or negative can impact your day.
Yeah. And it's understandable at this stage because it is hard to know where it's going to go from here.
Yeah.
Especially when you're living far away from home, you have travel plans. And for example, you said that you went to a restaurant last night that we've been to before and it's typically very busy, very lively, popular restaurant. And you said there was only one other. Like, there was a couple there. There was a group of us girls and then one other couple for the whole 3 hours we were there. Okay, more of a fun topic. So what have been your top touristy things to do, or what would you recommend? Big Buddha, I really enjoy, on Lantau Island. It's hard to kind of put it into words, like...
We can link the...
Yeah, we'll link our video. Because if you just explain one aspect of it, it doesn't sound interesting.
Yeah.
That was really cool. I really enjoyed that. Disneyland was awesome when we did that. My first ever Disneyland experience. Disneyland was definitely a highlight. Yes, because of Disneyland, but also because my family was here. So that was a really good time. I agree with Big Buddha. That's a really good day out. And I think we'll probably go back at some point because we didn't get to check out the fishing village, which I think sounds quite cool. Victoria Peak, the Peak Tram. The first time we went was beautiful. Golden hour, sunset, clear views. The second time we went with my family, just couldn't see a thing. So dependent on the day, I guess. The races are good, Happy Valley races. So they're every Wednesday. It's just a good night out. It's about £1 to get in. And then there's food, there's drinks. There's normally a theme of some kind. So yes, you go for the horse races, but also there's just a good vibe for midweek. Symphony of Lights. Oh yeah. Light show at TST, which is really cool and just really easy to get to. Every night, 8 o'clock, 10 minutes. So if you're already in the area. Number 10, do you feel like you stand out? So I think this was probably mainly directed at me. Lots of people ask me if I've experienced any kind of racism or people staring at me when I'm out here. And I think Hong Kong is very different to other countries in Asia, whereby there's a huge expat community. Definitely, I've never experienced any negative reactions at all. If anything, it's just fascination. I do get asked for selfies regularly. The only annoying aspect, which probably annoys Lawrence more than me, is that I'll paint you a picture. I come through my front door in the lobby. I'll have my headphones in, waiting for the lift. And then suddenly I'll just feel something on my shoulder. And I'll jump and look and just see my door lady and maybe someone who lives in the apartment and maybe a guest, just 3 of them just hovering by my shoulder, playing with my hair. Lawrence does get annoyed when he sees people doing it. I just think it's really funny. We do also get pictures just slightly taken of us, and we'll try and stare people down. It's like, if you want to take a picture, you can just ask, and it's not even like you need great language skills or English to be able to do that. Just communicate with us, get our attention, and kind of and we'll be happy to be in someone's photo. That's not a problem. For me, I sometimes just get people randomly tapping me on the shoulder and oh. I'm just surprised at how tall I am. But some people come up to me and just make that motion. Oh yeah. It's trying to ask if I play basketball, which I don't. Number 11. Okay, so one of the reasons we moved here, what have been your favourite foods? Chang Fun, which is rice noodle rolls. That'll be in one of our food videos right at the start. They were so good. They're basically just little things, rolled up bits of rice noodle, essentially. But then it's all about the sauces that they're served with. So you get your bowl of Chang Fun and then you have a peanut/sesame sauce, I think, hoisin sauce and sesame seeds, and you just mix it up. You can put your chili sauce in there as well if you like. It's all about creating the kind of consistency of the sauces and the mixture that you want, and it's always super cheap if you ever find it somewhere. Just $10 for a big thing. I wouldn't call it a meal, but it's a great snack for me. Some people might call it a meal. That's probably been my favourite. What about you? Egg waffle. I'm shocked that these egg puff waffles have not made it to the UK yet. Or maybe they have. I mean, I haven't lived in the UK for 2.5 years. They're incredible. Everyone who comes to visit, and I recommend it to them, they love it. They're just these egg puff waffles. It's just batter in a puffy shape in different flavours. You can get them sweet or savoury. I've only ever had sweet. The first time we had it with ice cream, whereas the other times it's just been plain. But they're just so easy to eat. They're warm, they're sweet. Definitely the best place we've had it is Mummy Pancake. If you're going to get it, go to Mummy Pancake. Definitely.
But I mean, all the food is great. It's been amazing. Watch the food series videos. We don't need to go through the whole alphabet. It's great.
And the final question, how do you keep yourself busy?
We are quite intentional about doing things in Hong Kong. We don't want the time to slip by and we've missed anything crucial. So I think we have done a lot of touristy things. We do a date day or date night at least once a week, and we tend to go out and see what's out there. Hiking is something we do regularly, together or with friends. We do have some really good friends here, so we spend time with them. That's really good. I'm currently studying as well, so a lot of my spare time is spent doing PhD research, which is super fun. Happy hour is quite a big thing here. That's where you see how many Brits live in Hong Kong. My goodness. There's some really good happy hour deals here. Junk boat, which was good.
Whenever there's kind of like the time of year it is, we always try and work out what is traditional for that time. So there was Mid-Autumn Festival. We tried to get involved with that. That's when we went to a display, but then we found out that it was a few hours earlier and we missed it because it got changed around. Christmas and New Year, trying to do as many kind of Christmassy things. At Chinese New Year, like we did the lion dance. So we're always kind of keeping our eyes and ears peeled for things that are coming up in the calendar and things that Hong Kong kind of celebrate traditionally.
There's never a lack of things to do. There's always so much going on. If that's a concern of coming to Hong Kong, that you might run out of things to do, I don't think it's possible. No. It's amazing.
If you ever just want to do something random, like random classes or random type of experiences, wine tasting, beer tasting, you can just look it up and you can normally find it somewhere.
Yeah, with that, I've gone to a couple of meetup groups. So I did a Cantonese meetup where I tried to learn Cantonese for 3 hours, and that went... I ended up just teaching people English, which was fine. It was still good to meet people. I also did a fitness one where we worked out in a park. It's really easy to find things to do. But yeah, if you try, you can definitely make friends very easily here. There's no limit of things that you can do here.
If your question wasn't answered, be sure to leave it in the comments down below and we will reply to you there. Please be sure to like, subscribe, share this video to anyone. That would be really, really useful. Thanks so much for watching.
Bye. Bye.